Welcome to the Judgment Free Zone. You download the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast, episode 66 for October 25th, 2023.
Now adjust the volume control so that the sound can be heard in all parts of the room.
Recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois, you're listening to the Alcohol-Free Marriage Podcast with Matt and Amy. Come and learn and share a journey with two former craft beer enthusiasts who went from daily drinkers to teetotalers and basically never lost their love for their life together.
Hey, a freak show!
Hello there, children. Welcome back to your weekly freak show that is the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. I'm Matt, along with the always lovely, sporting her new sweatshirt, Coach Amy. How are you, my love?
I'm good. I'm so good.
You're so good. So good.
I'm
Hey,
so
guys,
excited.
it's so good.
I'm so excited about this interview.
Shh, don't spoil it yet. We just got started. We do have an awesome interview coming up for
Yeah.
you. Please stay tuned for that. And if you think you're going to love the interview, why don't you go ahead and like, subscribe, and share this with somebody else right now.
Please
That
do.
helps us, and it's free to you, so we really appreciate that. How's your Sober October going, Coach Amy?
I'm going to just say that
Your fifth in a row or fourth in a row, maybe?
I think
I'd have to do math. Like,
no,
this would be your fourth October not drinking? Mm-hmm. Probably. Sure.
yes. And what a change it is.
I know.
Considering,
But you have your group going this
is
month?
like
and
the first, I've the last couple of years since I became a coach, being active in the AF community, sober community, and talking and encouraging people through Sober October, coaching individuals. But this is the first one of our groups going through like an actual Sober October. They're doing our 6-week program. I think we're on day 21.
yeah, you're almost done. Well, as of this, probably later than that. But
Yes,
yeah.
but it's been, let's just say this, it's been moving. We have an amazing group of women at all stages. We have women who are this is their very first dip, putting their little toe in the water, just testing out the waters. And then we have people who have been, they joined us in our first, our January
Right.
event, but they're like, you know what? We love the community. We love what you're doing. They love the faith aspect. Like they're like, this is the missing piece that I just didn't have. And
Well, as we touched on our interview coming up with Maggie, it's that ongoing reinforcing that helps keep you going. Even if you've done something and you quit for a while, sometimes that ongoing reinforcement.
this isn't a one and done. This isn't.
It's called life.
Yeah, I read this magic book and now I'm
healed.
and
Yeah.
I haven't. It's to be frank. I was listening to something. They're like, you got to do the work, and
true.
it is that. Just and that doesn't mean that it's this hard, cumbersome process. At the beginning, it's not.
Right.
It's not easy, but through time and with time, you just it does get easier as you go.
Right.
But the key is community.
Right.
It is so true. And this group of gals, I feel so close to them. And even some of my graduates who are reaching back out and saying, hey, I just wanted to say, this is what's coming up. How are you doing? This is how I'm doing. Can you help me with just something? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
Right. Right.
You know
A
what?
pro tip, if you will. And I'm sure you'll have another alcohol-free spirit program here
January.
in January.
Oh,
so
you bet.
Be watching out for
We're-
that. But our interview coming up with Maggie is the Sober Summit that's coming. Sober Summit, easy for me to say.
Yes.
Coming up in November 8th, 9th, and 10th. It is a free to attend event.
Yeah.
So check that out. Tons more information in the interview coming up. We'll have links down below. But before we get to the drink of the week, I did want to touch on a tangential topic, Amy. We watched the documentary The Big Vape about Juul.
Oh, yeah.
And not so much about Juul. That's its own thing. But it's a whole documentary. But if you watch it,
vaping.
it's on Netflix about vaping. It's actually a good doc to watch. But we were watching it with a different bend of this is all. It's all the same messages that Big Tobacco used, but a lot of the same messages and marketing techniques
That alcohol
uses.
big alcohol is used.
Yeah. And everybody gets PO'd at the vape groups were doing this, but nobody cares that the alcohol companies doing the exact same thing. I mean, all the health stuff, all the marketing stuff, all the everything.
And basically what happened is they went into it with positive intent.
With good intent. Yeah.
With good intent. Let's help people. Let's give them a product to get them off of smoking. But guess what?
Profit over.
And then all of a sudden they have all of these kids.
Yep.
And who are now addicted.
Yep.
They created a problem.
Yep.
Because kids, they interviewed a couple of principals.
Yeah, they
And
give
the
up.
principal was like, he was like,
on it.
we don't even talk. We weren't even talking about
like less than
smoking or
1%
nicotine or
versus-
anything like that. And now here we have all those kids, and that was
Yep.
it was crazy. And I just even remember thinking about it. I mean, I wasn't. I mean, we were still drinking at the time, but thinking to myself, nicotine is addictive,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
you've got kids now who are addicted to this. What?
Yep.
And the blinders.
Well, it's the lie of like,
blinders.
hey, this is cool. Let's not talk about the side effects or the problems or downsides and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah,
anyway,
it was. Yeah, so
check it out. But if you are a non-drinker or interested in non-drinking, like the messages will resonate across very similar.
Well, and
similarity.
it's always that too. If you're just you're sober curious and you're looking and you're watching something like that, the questions that you're asking yourself about nicotine or smoking or anything
Right.
like that, you can ask those same questions. It's okay to ask questions about your relationship with alcohol.
Right.
And
right.
when people tell you not to do that, therein lies the problem.
There's a mirror.
Yep.
All right, and our drink of the week.
Oh, yes.
I don't know. We may have to talk about putting a clip of the video because we actually
We
recorded.
can.
It was a video for your alcohol-free spirit program because we do 5 o'clock
Happier hour.
Happier
I do
hours.
a happier hour on Fridays to
Yeah.
get people all kind of,
Here's a drink
geared up.
idea or whatever.
Here's something, because the subject is heavy.
Right.
When you're looking at, quitting drinking, that is not something that's like, it's hard. It's
Yeah.
not something that so we like to come in and do something that's fun and let's do some fun mixed drinks or whatever.
So we've made mixed drinks, but this week we were making a martini, and we never made martinis even when we were drinkers, really.
Not really.
And so we made Liar's Espresso Martini, which is really good. It'll be on the screen if you're watching the video. But it uses their coffee and their white cane.
Yeah.
And then you put in some vanilla syrup.
And some
And then
coffee.
the actual coffee, which you use decaf. I think we use decaf, right?
We
Yeah.
did.
Very good. We learned dry shaking, which is shaking without ice, I think. I didn't look it up. I just assumed.
I don't know.
And so that made the foam. Then it poured all over, and it was a
Yeah.
bit of a comedy. It got sticky. It was a thing, but
It was good though.
it's really good. I highly recommend.
And here's the
It's
thing.
a little spendy to buy because you buy those 2 bottles, but
Yes.
they last. I mean, you're only using like a couple
But
shots
for
each.
years, you and I had martini glasses that were really nice, really pretty.
Never used them.
Never used them.
Got rid of them. Like we never used them when we drank. Why would we use them
and
now?
now I'm like, oh, we got rid of those.
We use our martini shaker more now than we did when we drank because we never made martinis.
I
We
know.
didn't have anything to shake. I just poured it on the.
Yeah,
You know how that goes.
exactly.
All right, Coach Amy, tell me about Maggie in our interview here.
Okay, well, let me pull up.
Oh, I'm glad
Oh,
glad
there
you
we
were
are.
so prepared.
I am prepared. It's right there.
All right, go for it.
Today we are interviewing Maggie Klaassens, and she is the founder, creator of the Sober Summit. She is the mom of 3 young kids. She's a newly graduated health coach, and she is working on her sobriety coach certificate as well. She is a hospitality marketer and a former wine enthusiast turned sober drinker. She created the summit, the first summit that was out in April, to help other middle lane drinkers like us, rethink our drinking and to see what life can be like without alcohol. She's doing the next Sober Summit, which is coming up in November, and it's the holiday edition. She interviews many authors, podcasters, and influencers who are speaking in the Sober Summit space, and she is doing this because she wants to give back. And And it's just amazing. Her goal for this event is to bring all of these incredible resources together in one place to help educate and inspire those who are interested in living their best life alcohol-free. Well, we are here and we are welcoming the founder of the Sober Summit, Maggie Klaassens. And I'm just so excited because it's like I have this brand new friend who I met a few months ago, and now I'm a part of something that is so big, and so excited to have you on here today.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And I feel the same way. I mean, I get to interview all these people, and it's like an instant connection with these people because we're all just trying to do the same thing. This sober community has been incredible. I mean, it's just such a fun thing to be a part of. So I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started and tell everybody, just about you. And then we're going to get into what is coming up in November. I'm very excited about that. So, can you just tell us a little bit about where you're from? Tell us a little bit about like your family, what you do, and maybe you might want to even throw in there something for what do you do for fun?
Oh, great. This big question, loaded question.
Yeah, let's just go.
Let's just go. Okay. So I am currently in Virginia. So on the East Coast, I'm a mom of 3 kiddos, quite young, 7, 5, and 4. My husband, of course, my best friend here and a huge supporter of everything I'm doing, which I'm so lucky and grateful for. But yeah, my story starts with, I think a lot of people I've actually interviewed, centered around this whole idea of mommy wine culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I fell into it, not even knowing I was falling into it. I loved wine. It was part of who I was. I felt like it was part of my identity. I went to school for hospitality business management. I work in the hotel industry, and at times worked in food and beverage within hotels. So it just felt like part of who I was. I felt very sophisticated, being interested in wine, right? I didn't feel like it was ever something that was holding me back in life. It was just something I felt like I was being this sophisticated adult, drinking wine and learning about wine and watching wine documentaries. At one point, my dad had a vineyard out in Washington State. So I just felt like it was part of who I was. So the idea of removing wine from my life was just, it felt unnatural. It felt scary until I did it. And then it felt damn good. Can I say that?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
It felt really good. It felt really good. So yeah, I got caught up in the mommy wine culture, especially when the pandemic hit. So I all of a sudden found myself, especially working in the hospitality industry, without a job overnight because the entire world shut down. No one was staying at hotels anymore.
Right.
And then, so I found myself at home with my 3 little ones, and my youngest was only 9 months old at the time. We lived in Maryland and did not have family around. Not that it mattered with the pandemic because you couldn't have family around anyway.
Right.
So it was just a really hard time for us. And wine was something that I think alcohol in general, everyone turned to and kind of laughed about all the recycling bins filled to the gill with, empty wine bottles and, liquor bottles and such. But I mean, I was having wine delivered to my house because you could do that during the pandemic. So I would have cases of wine sent to my house, and I wasn't a binge drinker. I drank every night. So I was a daily drinker, and it was just something that I did at the end of every night to reward myself for getting through the day with my 3 kiddos, and a way for me and my husband to connect. And, what we did while we were cooking dinner and eating dinner. And it felt normal until it didn't. Right. So I started to find myself getting resentful of my husband when he was downstairs cooking dinner and drinking wine, and I was upstairs getting the kids ready for bed, and thought, well, that's not fair. I want to be downstairs drinking. I thought that doesn't sound like a normal relationship with alcohol.
Right. Wow. And I want to, that right there, that awareness that you had there, I'm just in awe of that, because for me, I love how you talked how you got sucked into the mommy wine culture, the sophistication. I totally remember that as well. But that awareness that this isn't normal. Is this normal? I'm resenting my husband because he's downstairs drinking and I'm here with my kids getting them ready for bed.
And it wasn't something that happened right away. I think it was over time. I found myself making sure I got my fair share of the wine bottle we'd opened, right? And that over time you're going, wait a second, why am I making sure that I've had my half, or getting upset when he's had more than that it took time to get there. But yeah, slowly as those things happen, you're going, wait a second, that doesn't sound like something that's healthy. And I'm really into health and nutrition, so it was I felt like a hypocrite. You're into nutrition and exercise, and then you have this really odd relationship with alcohol. And I think a lot of people can relate to that and saying, I feel healthy, but yet there's this one thing I'm doing that is completely negating everything I'm doing from a health and nutrition standpoint. So
Well, Maggie,
you became a nutrition coach.
A health coach. Yeah. So
Health coach, yeah.
Through this sober journey, I really wanted to give back in a way. So I went back to school to become a health coach. I'm currently in Andy Ramage's sober coaching. So yeah, I want to give back. I want to do something and help other people. So that's, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That disconnect is so.
Well, and Maggie, your comment about, it slowly happened over time is how I think it happens to a lot of people, right? Like the devil doesn't hand you a chain. He hands you a link at a time. Then you wake up one day going, how the hell did I end up with this chain? And Amy's right. The awareness that you had of that kind of happening, what was your tipping point, right? When you're just like, whoa, like, was that it? Was just like, you just woke up and like, it's unhealthy, I shouldn't? Or was there a more pinnacle point, or?
I don't think there was a defining moment, right? I don't identify with hitting a rock bottom of any sorts, but I think, again, you get tired of getting tired and you start questioning your behavior. So there were definitely nights where I drank, 3 glasses of wine and felt tipsy and thought, gosh, if something happened right now, I wouldn't be able to drive my kids to go get help. Right. Or there was one night I was putting the kids down, or I think I was giving them a bath, and my husband was downstairs, like I said, cooking and drinking, and I was angry. I came down mad at him. He's going, what? I don't understand what happened from when you were upstairs to when you came downstairs. So, I mean, slowly over time, you keep questioning your feelings and your thoughts and saying, is this normal? And then you kind of dig into it. And I think, like everyone else, I mean, I never Googled, am I an alcoholic? Because I never identified with that, but I definitely started researching, what alcohol was doing to me. And two, being a mom of 3, I kept saying, well, the brain fog is due to being a mom, right? And going through 3 pregnancies and being run down. It's because I'm a mom, right? I kept blaming everything on being a mom. And I felt like I was on this hamster wheel, and life just didn't seem as good as everyone said it does with kids, right? They're like, have kids, they say, it'll be fun, they say. And I'm going, wait a second, this is really the hardest job I've ever had in my entire life. And I just feel like every day is the same. This can't be life. How am I going to why do other people get to enjoy life and I'm sitting here like struggling every day? And it was all because of the alcohol. It's just even one glass of wine, as I learned later doing the research, even one glass of wine is clouding my brain. And it does think, it affects my sleep and everything, my energy, my patience with my kids. It just, it affects so much. So, over time, Matt, it was over time, which I'm thankful for, because a lot of people don't get that sort of knock on the shoulder saying, hey, check it out. What are you thinking about this?
Yeah. So you weren't drinking a lot necessarily, but you weren't necessarily finding yourself able to not drink, right?
Exactly. I would set myself rules. We would say, okay, we're not going to drink during the week. Well, guess what? Monday was tough and the kids are still here.
Wednesday starts the weekend,
by the way.
Yeah. And you know what? The thing about like the whole, what you were talking about with our kids, like it is not easy. And we are so inundated by the messages that you need this to help you. You need alcohol to help you. So you in turn were just listening to all the messages that you had received over all of these years. And it, for me, I think what is so, I guess, I regret is that I had these kids. I wanted these kids so bad. I wanted to create this family. And then I had those same thoughts like, this is hard. I need my drink. I need this drink to have these kids. And it's such a lie because life is great
It's such
when
a
you
lie.
remove the alcohol. It's just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. My kid,
Yeah, and
oh,
I can
they did
handle
this.
it now.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can
it's like
handle it.
the kids are still the same. Listen, they're kids, but
Yeah.
I don't feel that that sense of being claustrophobic or stuck in motherhood the way that I did before. And it was different too for me because I didn't have help. So I don't live near family. We were fairly new to we'd moved down to Maryland for our job. So the pandemic happened shortly after that, where we didn't have a lot of great friends either, but you
Mm.
couldn't see anyone anyway. So and my husband was really busy at work and when the pandemic happened. So I felt like a single mom of 3 kids that never got a break because they never went to school during, this 18-month period of time. And I was, it was never ending. My break was when I slept. That was it. That was the break I got. And that was difficult. So the pandemic, I think, had a lot to do with it too, where it escalated in the sense where I felt like I needed it more, right? If I was running low on that box of wine, I was quickly, speed dial the store and getting my next shipment in.
Wow. Yeah. I understand that box of wine.
Yep.
That box of wine. It, it made me feel like I was always only having one drink.
Yes. Yep.
It's like, oh, I'll just go and top her off a little bit more and all of that. So yeah. So when did you finally, decide I'm gonna take a break?
Yeah. So like I said, I started doing the research and realizing that there's something called Quit Lit books out there.
Yeah.
And I had, someone had mentioned This Naked Mind somewhere online. And so I ordered it and I read it. And the day that I finished reading that book, it was actually our 8th year wedding anniversary. And we went out to dinner and I said, I'm not drinking tonight. And for 2 months I didn't drink and it was great. But let me tell you, when you read something like that, it is effective and it does work, but it only works if you keep that messaging in your head. So I read the book, put it down, and 2 months later we're on vacation and it's like, well, we're on vacation. We'll just, I'll just have my glass of wine. Well, your brain does not forget where you left off. And all of a sudden I'm right back to where I am having the glass, or 2 or 3 a night and making excuses as to why this is okay. So it took me another year before I said, okay, I'm ready. I can't live like this anymore. This is just, there's got to be a better way. When I started listening to the podcasts, right, and reading more Quit Lit books, and just that continual messaging of sobriety is amazing and living this way is just an incredible life choice that opens up so many doors. That I said, okay, I think I'm ready. So I started off with a 100-day challenge, not really anticipating I would go completely sober because the idea of doing that was just so foreign to me and to my group of friends and my family, right? Like that's something that I don't think I ever thought I'd do. But 100 days in, at day 101, I thought, I'm not going back. This is too good. I feel great. I'm sleeping better. When the kids would wake me up in the middle of the night, I could fall back asleep. Other times when I was drinking, I'd be up for some 2 a.m. on, and it was just, that had to do with the hamster wheel too. I wasn't sleeping very well. I didn't have the energy. So it all kind of plays in together. But yeah, I decided to then do another 100-day challenge. And then you get to 200 days, you're going, well, I'm going to go for a year. So now I think 600 days plus. So yeah.
Amazing.
Did your husband?
Congratulations, by the way, too.
Yes. Did your husband quit also, or
He
does he drink
didn't,
less?
and it's yeah, so he didn't. He still drinks, and I'm okay with that. I was talking to someone the other day, and I thought I got asked the same question, and I thought it's not for me to ask him to do it for me, right?
Right.
And the same way that he can't ask me to continue drinking for him because he lost his drinking buddy, right? So
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, he's very aware of everything. I'm constantly singing the praises of sobriety and, you know, trying to be a lighthouse for everyone around me. And let me tell you, it takes time, but it works. So
Right.
he's had a couple of stints of, you know, sober Octobers, dry Januaries, and I think it just takes time. It's got to be your choice. You
Yep.
have to want to do it.
100%.
Nobody else can ask you or do it for you. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. You know what? And Matt didn't quit either when I quit. And I had the same feeling. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing this for me. I can't expect him to do it. This is, and the same thing. This is my journey. I would love to have you come along, but if you are choosing not to, I'm here to support you. And I want to
I think you said, I'm here to support you, but get more life insurance because you're going to die or something like that.
I did not say that. I did not say that. But I want to say, okay, we've just touched on the relationships here. How has your relationships changed? I mean, this is a big change. You said your family, it's pretty, you know, ingrained in your family. Your dad
you were the wine lady. Your dad,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, well, first of all, my family's all spread apart, so
Okay.
I don't get to see them much anyway. But I did just see him last week, and it's interesting because there's comments here and there. It's funny when you're not drinking. There's comments. My brother owns a bar in Michigan, so he says make sure you don't have any or anyone from Michigan attend your sober summit. I go, Matt, there is plenty of money to be had in the non-alcoholic space.
Yes.
There is plenty. But, you get comments here and there. And then it's funny because eventually by the end of my time together with my family, I've got people asking me questions about, not drinking. Well, how do you feel? Like, how did you do it? Like, so, it's funny too, because being a lighthouse does not mean going out and standing on your soapbox and, preaching it. It's just living authentically and people will notice. So I've had friends in my area that have asked me about sobriety and the sober summit. And in regards to my relationship with my husband, I mean, he has been my biggest supporter in this. I have never heard my husband tell me he's so proud of me more times than in this past year. In working on this. Like, it's just been so fantastic. So he's proud of me, which feels really good. I feel like I have a purpose in this world. And, I think our relationship is more authentic than ever.
Yeah. Even
awesome.
that, I will have to say, even when I noticed the difference in our relationship just because of the difference in me.
Yes.
It was just because even when you were saying like you would get resentful, like that goes away and just opens you up to being able to extend grace, compassion, and love for your spouse in all areas of their life. And I just found that was just so freeing from taking that big step back from alcohol and saying, this is the authentic me. And having him be your husband, be your biggest supporter is amazing. Matt was mine as well. I mean, he was always the one going, hey, let's try this NA drink or let's do this. And so it was just, I'm so happy that you have that because that, it's a fear that a lot of people have. I'm going to quit and oh my gosh, what's going to happen to my relationship?
Yeah, it's a big one. I think it's something that people definitely can hold them back from doing it. But my thought process was there was oftentimes I would drink for other people. because that's what everyone else was doing. I didn't feel like drinking that night, but that's the habit I was in, and that's what everyone else was doing, and that's what we're supposed to be doing as adults, or at this party or at this get together or work event or whatever. And yeah, I just think that it is fearful to go in there and wonder what everyone else is going to think. But at some point you get tired of doing things for other people, and you say, I'm just going to do this for me and see how it goes. And you would be surprised at how it goes. I mean, there's a real fear there, but there's also this amazing reality once you tap into that. So
Well, and when you stop and go to events and when you're not drinking, right? So your point of, well, your fear, the fear is, well, everybody's doing it, I'm not going to be doing it. But when you're not drinking, I don't know about you, Maggie, but I know Amy and I've noticed when we go places, like, not everybody's drinking like you thought they were, because you were always focused on drinking. When you're not drinking, like, there's actually a lot of people here who aren't drinking. They're drinking water or tea or whatever. It's like, it's not everybody. It was just everybody in your head when you were drinking, or enough to make you justify drinking, right? I mean, is that you? Or do you see the same thing now that you're not drinking?
Yeah, exactly. And as long as I have something in my hand, who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I have my drink in my hand. It may have, it may not have alcohol in it, but I still have that drink in my hand, and nobody really cares, right? It just,
Nobody cares.
Right.
I think that's the big thing, that once a person, if you're taking a break, once you get past that, then it can be so much easier when you feel like, oh, no one cares.
No.
And I mean, it's like, no one cares.
When I was drinking, all I cared about was making sure I had my drink.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have your drink. I have my drink. I need my drink. You do you, right? So, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
And I think the biggest thing too for me was that I knew what life was like with alcohol and how I felt and how life was, but I didn't really know what life was like without it. So I wanted to try and actually give myself that big chunk of time to compare the two. And 3 days, a weekend, that's not enough. That's not
Right.
trying it. Right. So that 100 days really gave me the clear picture of what it was like to live alcohol free.
And your wine budget went down.
Oh my gosh, significantly. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing too, Matt, is my taste got pretty, expensive as I got older. I went from buying the $10 bottles of wine to the $30 bottles of wine at the end, because I was sophisticated and I had to have the best.
I think this is why I like Maggie so much. I feel like I'm hearing the exact same things come out of your mouth that I have said.
Yep.
Oh, this is when I became the sophisticated drinker,
Yes.
when I started to buy the more expensive bottles of wine. I mean,
Well, I know Amy's going to shift gears here in a second to the big topic, but I want to ask, since you were the wine girl, do you have any takes on the NA wine space? Do you venture into the NA wines? Do you have any of your favorites? I'm getting a little ahead of my own questions, but I want to hit on that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think the NA wine space is a difficult one, right?
Mhm.
I'm a red wine drinker. And I think where I've tapped into some really good NA products is in the white wine space, right? I think it's easier to replicate with the white wines. That said, this is interesting, Matt. I picked up a brand new red blend from Shirley that is supposed to be very, very close to the real thing, and I'm afraid to open it. And isn't that interesting? So I got this wine, I was all excited, and then I thought, I'm scared to open this. And I've never been one to think, oh, I'm going to be triggered by non-alcoholic drinks. But what I don't want to go back to is drinking something every night. Like, I don't want to go back to relying on drinking something every night. That's what I'm scared of, is that you open it up, it's great, and now I'm, I got to have my NA wine, right? That's what alcohol or no alcohol. I just don't want to be dependent on anything. And I also, one of my big why factors for removing alcohol in the first place is I didn't want my kids to see me being dependent on anything and having something that I need every single night. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I will open it. But
Shirley's a good brand. Yeah.
I love that how you said that too. You don't want to be dependent on anything. And I will say that I know when I quit and I did the replace the ingredients, keep the ritual, for I would say about 5 months, a good 5 months, every single night, I was making something. Sometimes it was maybe opening a bottle of NA or something like that. But I felt like I finally could drink a glass of NA wine the way I wanted to drink a glass of real, like alcohol wine. And so I was kind of at that beginning, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to always be doing this? And then all of a sudden it just fell away.
Same here.
And it just was like, oh, well, I'm coming home now and I'm going and grabbing.
It's kind of like a binky, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like
Exactly.
okay, I keep the alcohol out, but I'm still,
Yeah.
it's like a placebo. And then eventually like, well, I'm not getting it. Now it's just,
Yeah. But I also don't like to open up NA wine unless I usually will. If I'm going to do an NA wine, I do it on a Friday night so that I can make sure that I drink the whole bottle over the weekend, which
because it used to be you open a bottle, drink the whole thing. Right.
It just cracks me up. But it's like, because I don't want to waste, spending, because that, it's
that was never a problem before.
It's not cheap.
No, but they should make NA wines in very small bottles, right?
Yeah,
so you can have just one glass.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all I want.
Yeah. I just want one. And now they do with, I don't know if you've tasted toast, it's sparkling tea.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
It is wonderful. And I tell people it's carbonated. It's like champagne. It explodes almost when you open it. So it's fun for those type of events. But
they make a split now.
They do. They make a 4-pack now, which is so awesome. It's like, oh, I can have one and enjoy it and not have to worry about, it going flat or whatever. And that, but I also say it doesn't taste, it's tea, it's sparkling tea. It tastes wonderful.
One of your favorites.
And I love it because I can drink a whole bottle and there's like in the entire bottle, I think it's like 80 calories.
Yeah. Isn't that great? I think that's a huge benefit of NA products. It's just like the calories you're consuming. So, I've actually turned to more of the drinks like the recess and the callow and the, those types of drinks, which I never had as a drinker, but I like, maybe it was because it was summer, but I like having those now. So
yeah. Awesome.
Sorry, I distracted us. Amy, back to you.
Now we're going to, because you're 600 days in, that is absolutely amazing. And so let's go back to prior to April, because isn't that when you did the first Sober Summit?
I did. Yes. Yep.
And and it was, I think from all, like, being the outsider, it was a huge success because I was hearing people talking about it. Have you signed up? Are you doing this? Clearly I'm in that space, but there was just a lot of talk. I even had clients, Amy, have you done this? Did you know about this? Yeah. Oh, it was so great. So, so I knew about it. I think I might have tuned in like a little bit to it. And I think it was more of the awareness, not into it, but more onto your channel on your Instagram page and like following and going, this is absolutely amazing. And kind of being, oh, shoot, I really wish I would have signed up for this whole thing. So kudos to you because you were clearly maybe 400 days. And so you had to go even back further to planning this where you're really new in your alcohol-free life.
That's a really great point. I really was new to it, but I knew after that 100 days, I was not going back.
That is so awesome.
It was so crystal clear to me that this is just so much better of a life. And that's why I think the Sober Summit happened was you sit there. And I think all of us do this in the space is you go, life is so good. I got to turn around and figure out how to get back in this space because everybody needs to know what my new superpower is. And I want you to experience it as well. It's not a secret superpower. But it's something that everyone can have. And I want that for everybody because that messaging of normalizing sobriety, it's got to get out there because it can't be something that people are scared to try because of the culture that we've created, right? It needs to happen. So the Sober Summit is my way of giving back. I actually, it came together because I've attended a lot of summits in the health and wellness space. And I specifically attend 2 on sugar, because you know what happens after you give up alcohol. You start eating a lot of sugar.
Yes.
So I was attending these 2 sugar summits, and I thought, gosh, there's 2. How can they compete? This is so crazy. There's 2 of them. There's got to be one on alcohol. So, doing a little Google search, and I can't find one. And I thought, well, this is crazy. If there's 2 on sugar, there's got to be one on alcohol. So I pitched the idea to some podcasters to see if they would be the face of it. I'd never wanted to be the face of this thing ever. That I'm such an introvert now that I've removed alcohol. This is not my comfort zone at all. I was going to be the back end and putting it all together and just managing the website and the marketing and all that. But, everyone's busy with their own thing. So I got polite no's, but if I was going to do it, that they would be a part of it. So I took some time to think about it, and it's interesting. I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about when you remove alcohol, right? So much happens in your life. These things that you never thought you would ever do, you end up doing, right? It's people write books, they run marathons, they, I don't know, climb Mount Everest, whatever it is. And I thought, okay, well, this could be my thing. Like, what if this is the thing that is so outside my comfort zone, but I do it anyway? And so I said, yes, I would do it and just kind of see who I could get. And once I started getting people, it's like, okay, I could do this. And then, big guys came out like William Porter and Annie Grace. And I'm going, okay, so now I have to interview Annie Grace. Do you know how terrifying that is? So, I mean, these interviews were incredible because, one, it felt like this just private coaching session between me and the speaker. I mean, it helped me in my own sober journey, because as you pointed out, like I was still within my first year at that point. So I got to interview all these amazing people and learn so much about the sober space and become part of such an incredible community. So I'm really proud of the product that, we put together in April, and I'm happy that it was such a big success. I thought maybe it would just be my husband and my mom attending, but we had people from all over the world. And I got so many messages of saying, thank you so much. This is what I needed. And I have people today that'll post in the Facebook group saying what their date was. And I go back and, I've been sober for X amount of time. And I go back and I tell my husband that's right. That date puts them right at the Sober Summit, and I just get goosebumps when when I think about that. So yeah, once I did the Sober Summit in April, I thought, I gotta keep going. I gotta do another one. And the idea of waiting a whole nother year to do it was just, it made me sad. So I missed being able to interview and meet all these people. So that's how the Sober Summit holiday edition came about. That's been, it's, launching soon. And, at the point of this, it'll launch November 8th through the 10th. Tickets will be available. And people can sign up and join us. This is the, same kind of format with 24 speakers, 8 interviews a day. It's completely free. And yeah, it's my way of giving back. I think I had wished I had something like this right before the holidays. So last year was my first sober holiday. And it would have been incredible to have this kind of inspiration, motivation right before you get into, and there's so many holidays around this time. You got Christmas and Thanksgiving and Kwanzaa and Diwali and Hanukkah. I mean, there's just so much packed into these next couple of months. So,
well, and the fact that you do it for free is amazing, because Amy was telling me about it and all this, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna be a speaker and all, and the whole. I'm like, wow. I'm like, what does it cost to attend? Just assuming it costs something. She's like, oh, it's free. I'm like, what? That's the thing that amazes me. And I love the fact, I mean, at a much, 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 much smaller scale, our podcast, we just do this to give back. Like, we're never going to be even 100 errors off of doing the podcast. But if you can help one person by giving back, that means a lot. So it's just amazing that you do. I mean, I'm sure it's a ton of work to put this together.
Oh, you know it is. I know it is. I know it is, just based on how you have been so organized and you've brought this. I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to be getting, and then all of a sudden it appears, Amy, here's this. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I mean, I don't think anybody would fault you if it was like $20 just to kind of cover my web hosting, or so the fact that it's free is just amazing and speaks volumes.
Yeah, so I mean it's free to an extent, right? Because this does cost me
Right,
money, and
right, right.
it does is a lot of time and effort on everyone's part to put this together. But yeah, so everybody has 24 hours to listen to that day's speakers. So the schedule will go out ahead of time, and you can pick your favorite topics or your favorite speakers to listen to. And then people do have the ability to purchase an all access holiday pass, which will give them extended access to all the interviews, private podcasts on the go, so that they can listen on the go, and over $700 worth of bonuses from our speakers, which is just incredible. Everyone was so generous to give back in that space. So we've got courses and memberships and master classes and, you know, your journal. I mean, we have so much. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that's
it,
awesome.
it is exciting. I'm like trying to not go into the imposter syndrome, you know, but you have some amazing speakers who are coming up, and we will list those as well.
I heard Coach Amy Edwards is a speaker.
And
Is that
I
correct?
honestly, I'm part of this. I cannot believe it. And but it's
Oh my gosh, if you could have seen how nervous she was. I'm going to be interviewed. I'm like, you do this every week. It's okay. I think you can do it. I think you can do it. It's okay.
She was
You and-
amazing. She was amazing. And, you know, I told her ahead of time that I sent out a survey after the April summit, and I got several requests for faith and sobriety. And so when I found Amy, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing that this just connects with what her message is. And that's the fun part about the sober community, is everyone kind of has their niche.
Yeah.
And their stories are so inspiring, and we've got a range of stories this time. You know, it just the spectrum of alcohol use is just so broad, right? So we've got people who identify with hitting rock bottom, and we've got people who just made healthy lifestyle choices, and then the topics are just so incredible. I'm so excited, and you did a fantastic job, Amy. I'm really excited for everyone
really
to hear it.
excited about it. And what I love about it is it's all pre-done. Like it's all been done. And so it's coming out. And so like there's so much relief. It's like, oh, you know what? Let's just see what happens. And I know that people are going to be blessed by it. In fact, in my group, when I just kind of shared, hey, I'm doing this, they were all like, this is so awesome. You know, they're already excited about that this is coming out for the holidays. And I think it is going to be just like you said, you know, I wish I would have had that, because I think you and I must have been on a similar like time path on how we did this, because I remember getting to my 200 days after I did like 30, 60, 100. And I'm like, let's go for 200. And then it was the holidays. And I just was like, oh my gosh, how just one holiday at a time. I can get through this. And so I think this is absolutely amazing.
Well, that's the challenge of Sober October, right? Sober October just dumps you right into the holiday. It's like, I did so good. Yeah, here's all the alcohol. It's like, you know, it's so I think this is great timing for a program like that. Kind of gives that next boost to kind of keep going.
Yeah. And I mean, I think if someone hasn't experienced a sober holiday yet, honestly, it is the best gift you can give yourself and those around you. It just, when I think back around, you know, my holidays last year, I had so much fun, you know, and I was so present and there for my kids. And I wasn't feeling that, you know, Christmas morning hangover feeling of having drunk too much the night before. And I wanted to get on the floor and play with my kids. And I wanted to, you know, it was so different. And I think if you haven't experienced it yet, yes, there's fear around that. And that's the point of the summit, is to really help get you motivated. And that's why it's coming out at the time it is too. Like, I want people to spend, you know, a few weeks listening and getting the messaging that yes, a sober holiday is not only possible, but the best gift you could give yourself. So
I agree. Absolutely. I think that being able to, that gift of being present to yourself is so key. And just being able to think about your holiday with your kids, because we have so many pictures of you and I on Christmas Eve with our Marty Moose mug, little things like, yes, here we are. And then that next morning having that, okay, here they come, the kids. And you know, they're going to get up at 5. I mean, you know, they are, and here we are. So I am again in such awe of you for doing that for you and for your kids, because that they are going to know how much you are right there and present for them. So I love it.
And I have more fun, to be honest. It's more fun for me. It is, to your point, a very long day when you have small kids. So, I mean,
It is.
And Maggie, we'll put the link in the notes and everything, but how do people sign up for the summit?
yeah, so they can go to thesobersummit.com. You're going to need a free ticket to register for a free ticket to get access. And so each day, once it launches on November 8th, you'll get an email with your username and password to access that day's content. And of course, you can purchase the All Access Holiday Pass at any time if you want instant access to everything, right when you sign up. You can absolutely do that, or, wait it out. But yeah, it'll be available.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, are you going to ask your last
I think
question?
I did the drink of the, well, okay, I'll ask. You did the whole wine thing, which was great, but what is your favorite go-to NA drink if you're out and about?
Calo is my new favorite. So it's Kalo with a little over the O. It's really good. I like the black cherry. Again, I've turned to more of it's interesting. I think maybe a lot of people find that when you switch drinks, you're switching to something, that you didn't normally do previously. So yeah, I like those my favorite.
Now I'm going to have to look that up.
I also really like bitters. So I love a good just club soda with some bitters in it too. So, and there's
bitter, one of our favorite, all the bitter.
I love all the bitter.
So
they
good.
are amazing and so good. And thank you again. And we're going to have all this information in the show notes. I'm excited. I can't wait for this event. So thank you again, Maggie.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. Matt, we'll have to have you on too.
All right. Next year.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, Maggie, for being on the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. I love what she's doing.
Oh.
I love, if you want to pay a little extra and get all that longer access, cool. But she's not, as the kids say, gatekeeping it, right? You don't need to have the money to attend and to listen and to learn. So it's a resource for it all. So I love what she's doing.
I do too. I just love it because it's this instant connection, instant friendship. I think that it's going to be one of those where in a few years, we're going to be like, oh yeah, hey, let's get together with Maggie someday, like actually meet up. I love all of it. And she is truly, as she said, she is a lighthouse.
She is. And if you want to attend the Sober Summit, the links and everything are down below. You can attend Coach Amy's session.
I know. I'm kind of nervous, but
all the other fantastic sessions.
Yeah,
so.
There are going to be so many amazing speakers at this event. So if you are interested, all the information is going to be in the show notes.
Yes, they are. All right. Well, that's it for this week for Matt. For what am I doing? It's like the first time I've ever done this. For Coach Amy and me, myself, Matt. Wishing you peace and love from the confused cornfields. And we are
out.